we have lowered the penalties on so many crimes in a different approach that is just not working. And I think this is the result of it. I mean, you know, lowering crimes on motor vehicles, as it's just considered a property crime. But a lot of these vehicles that are stolen, we know are used in other crimes. And this is an example of it. This, you know, not only, I mean, this brazen, you know, using vehicles that I don't know that it's confirmed yet. I believe one of them was stolen. I don't know if it's confirmed yet about the other one. To just crash through the front of this building, knowing that it's a stolen vehicle, so it doesn't matter to them the damage to the vehicle. And then a second robbery occurring later in the morning. And so, you know, I think that obviously I think that municipal government, the city of Aurora has woken up to this, and we're trying to do all we can by the establishment of what we call the DART program, Direct Action Response Team, with our interim chief, who is reassembling the crime fighting infrastructure of this department that was dismantled before. And so this is a group that just is for sole purpose is to go out and not answer dispatch calls, but in addition to patrol, will go out just looking for known habitual motor vehicle thieves and violent criminals. And we've also done mandatory, just passed recently, mandatory minimums on motor vehicle theft that we can prosecute at the municipal level. 60 days, first offense, 120 days, second offense. I'm no criminal justice expert, but I know this. I know that when these habitual criminals are behind bars, they're not stealing another vehicle, at least for that time that they're behind bars. But I think that at the end of the day, the state legislature and our governor have to wake up. Have to wake up. We can only do so much at the municipal level. These people can come in from other, you know, the crime doesn't, they don't stop at the border between Denver and Aurora or other boundaries of the city. We need a statewide solution. It can't be addressed. We can do a lot of things at the local level, but they have to be willing at the state legislature to reverse themselves on some of the things they've done over the years that has simply made it easier for these criminals to do what they do.
Speaking of what the criminals do what they do, talk to me, Mayor, about your kind of shock, if you were shocked, but probably the rest of us, that not only was this business hit once in a very, like, you know, obvious way, using two vehicles and then towing away the ATM, but then for somebody else to come back and hit this business again. Talk to me about the shock value for you.
Yeah, I think that just really tells us where we are right now. I mean, that this is a shock, where you have, you know, this small business has already been assaulted, you know, in a major theft, and then you have, following on, you know, somebody, more criminals seeing an opportunity because the fact that the building is not yet secure, the ability to just walk in, armed, rearmed. I think the store owner did the right thing in not intervening and risking his life to do so. But we have got to have, not just in the city of Aurora, which we are moving, I am moving the city in that direction, but as a state, we've got to be tougher on crime. We've got to be tougher on criminals. And if we don't, we're just inviting more of the same. If this is just going to be normal, this should never be normal. I'm going to have to be introducing a proposal later this month that I don't want to, that no mayor should ever have to introduce. And essentially it's going to say, for the convenience stores who are franchise owned, often by immigrants just like Girum, that are franchise owned, that are required through their franchise agreement to stay open 24 hours a day, even in difficult areas. That's just not safe for those store owners and their employees. And so I'm going to have to put forward an ordinance to override that right now. To say, no, they don't have to be open from 11 at night to 5 in the morning. That's an admission of how bad the situation is. I grew up in the city. Every street, every block was safe. There was not, as a kid growing up in Aurora, there was not a corner of the city that I felt unsafe. Yeah, we have areas that are out of control, and so we've got to take back the city. And we are in the search for another police chief. I want somebody who's tough on crime. We've got to take back the city, street by street, block by block. And but we need the help from our state partners to be able to do it. We can't do it alone. We are limited in what we can do as a municipality in terms of prosecuting cases and what cases we can prosecute. We've got to have our state partners in the Colorado General Assembly and the governor help us and get us through this. If not, we're just going to see more of the same.
Mayor Coffman, I've talked to Girum and his wife and some of the Ethiopian community members. There was an initial police response when this happened, but by the time the owners got here just a few minutes later, the police were already gone and said, "Don't worry, there'll be a detective coming." They say they waited 3 hours for a detective, and in the interim, they get what they think is a gun pointed at them. So I think the question here is, you're talking about an overarching idea about law, but what about the Aurora police response? Was this an adequate response?
I've not had the opportunity to talk to the Aurora Police Department yet. I certainly will to review what did occur from the standpoint of APD's response, and so I'm not able to comment on that until I've had the opportunity to sit down.
Do you want to talk about the shortage of police officers? Did a shortage of police officers contribute to this?
Don't know yet, but the fact is, it is a problem. Overall, but we focus on patrol, and I mentioned the DART team as a supplement. So we focus on that things, but to be able to focus on that, we've had to take officers from other specialized units to be able to do that. Now, we are doing everything we can to staff up. We've just increased pay, just increased benefits. We're very competitive with other municipalities across the country. Under Interim Chief Oates, there's an effort underway right now to go to other cities across the country and to recruit lateral officers with experience to come into our department. So we're doing everything we can to build the numbers right now. But obviously, you're always compromising. When you have a shortage of officers, you're compromising law enforcement capabilities somewhere.
So, Girum said basically that, he didn't say basically, so Girum, the owner, told me that if police had responded, and hadn't taken 3 hours afterwards, they were here, that second robbery wouldn't have happened and they wouldn't have been threatened. I think, the question is this a wake-up call for Aurora?
Well, again, without talking to the police department, I'm really not able to respond to that. When there is a crime in progress, the policy of the department is a rapid response. When there is not a crime in progress, the policy is not. Unfortunately, the fact that it was unsecure invited the second crime.
And is that the responsibility of police? Like he said, they didn't even put a crime scene tape or anything. So it was like...
Again, guys, it wouldn't be fair to make a comment until we talk to them.
Why did you want to come out here today?
Well, I wanted to see it for myself. Obviously, not just knowing the family, but the fact that this is a very unique incident, where you have the initial assault on this business, this small business, to have entry and to rob the store, followed, by a second incident. I think it's tragic, and nothing else I can say about that. It's obvious that to have a small business assaulted twice during the same night, I think is fairly incredible.
And do you think? He said he doesn't feel safe anymore, and that small business owners aren't protected here. Are small businesses safe in Aurora?
Well, I don't think it's just speak of Aurora, I think it's about the different metro area. And I think there is a challenge that I just talked about in terms of convenience stores and a proposal that I'm putting forward that have had a history of armed robberies that are in areas where I leave it to them to whether or not so it will policy will override the franchise agreement, and then I leave it to them to make the decision whether or not, despite that, that they've had a history of armed robberies, that they can stay open.
And you mentioned that the Ethiopian community is the second largest immigrant community. Do you want to talk at all about Girum and his sort of contribution to Aurora?
Well, I think he's very active in one of our largest Ethiopian churches, St. Girum, and has been a leader in that church. And to understand the importance of churches like that, or whatever the religious affiliation is, becomes the center of their community. So it's really about community leadership in leadership in St. Girum.
Once you talk with your police department, will you be having another statement or anything to say, here's what I found out, kind of thing, or?
No, I'll put out a statement.
Okay. Because, like you said, you can't comment, like, are they supposed to be here on scene till it gets secured, the police, do you know? Is that standard protocol, or because
I'll find out.
Okay.
I don't believe it is, but no, but I will.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mayor.
We'll let you, those microphones off, yeah.